In this tutorial, we will be covering the column options module. This is actually one of the modules that will be used the most on the website, and it's one of the most powerful and versatile that are available. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer tutorial, so get a coffee or whatever you need to. But the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and use this test page, in my case, to set this up. Click Add Modules and select Column Options. I will go through various of these options as we go along down the page. So on the first tab of options, we can select what type of column layout we want for this page with a specific row. We can do 1 by 1, which is just one row, half rows, thirds, and then you can split out the columns in different layouts as well. So we'll start with 1. And for now, we're just going to be using the default text editor because this content type, there's quite a few things we can do here. So there are a couple other fields that are global on this module. Each module can have a title. We have an option to make the title text a little smaller if we need to. We have the title color and a background color. Now this background color works best on some of the themes rather than others, but the option is there and it is there for you to use. So we're going to leave those blank for now. Now when we select default text editor, which is the first option out of 5 different ones we have here, we are going to get this drop down. And each of these options, when we select them, it's going to update the field right below it. And this is an accordion drop down where you can adjust additional settings. The reason that it is sometimes hidden is because since we have so many options, the page can become pretty long if we don't have the option of collapsing these. So we're going to open the text editor. This is text. We'll just use that example. And in this text editor, we have the option of assigning a max width to our text. And we can select the alignment. So for example, we wanted this to be centered. Actually, let's go ahead and do the default one first. So we'll click update, and we're still just previewing one column. So if I update this, we can see that we have the title here, and we didn't select any colors for that. Now the text down here looks a little squished here is because we've set a max width of 200 pixels. So now we can use the content alignment. We can go ahead and click center, and this text is going to move to the center here. And in order to make it even better, we would just go ahead and select this and align the text center if we wanted to do it that way. So I'm going to erase these options and leave it to the default and click update one more time. And let's refresh. There we go. Now we'll select the title text and just let's do black background color just to show you what that does. So the primary text color is going to update this, and the background color is going to update the back there. We would not want to use black there. So by default, this is going to be white or transparent. It depends on the theme. So we'll just leave it as white. Now that is one column. So let's go ahead and select 2 columns. Now if we go to this page, we'll collapse this down after we copy some of this text. We can add an additional column. So title column 2. It's primary, we'll just leave that blank and add our text. Now we do have a couple of different options at the bottom here. Each of these columns do have the option of adding call to action, which is in a drop down as well. So for example, we're just going to add CTA. You can open this in a new link if you needed to. The button alignment, let's go with all the way to the right, and we're going to use the primary button. So we'll go ahead and click update. When we click that, it positions the button at the bottom here. We can align this to the center or to the left as well. So now we have two columns. We'll add a third for this example, and then we'll move on to some of the other options other than the text editor. So we need to, now that we have three, add a third column. We'll select the title, leave that, and we'll make this title a little bit smaller so you can see that. The text editor, we'll just put in some of that same copy. And in order to display that, I'm going to show you what the social icons can look like. So let's do that. Let's do white primary. Now, when you do select the social icons, this is going to pull in the social links that are set up in the theme pages, which are the same links that are going to be in the footer and the header, everywhere else on the site. There we go. So we see that this title is a little bit smaller, especially when we're using the 3 columns or things get a little bit more squished. So we want to use probably smaller title here. So now that is an example of 3 columns. I am going to, just for demonstration purposes, add a little bit of, let's do some margin top and bottom, just so that this is shown properly. I'll just leave that blank. It's causing some issues there. Now, we want to test a couple of these other options. For example, I want to use this one. Now, if I have 3 columns selected, that's going to break the layout a little bit. So we need to narrow it down to, we would need to narrow it down to 2 columns in this example because there's not enough padding. If we had to go through to another row, my suggestion would be to click an additional module, another column options, and there you can set up the proper rows there. So we'll go ahead and delete this last one here, remove that layout, click update, and we should have the proper layouts now. There we go. We're going to move on and view some of these content types that are available for you. The default text editor is the most straightforward and simple one where we can adjust and manipulate the text. We also have the options of using the formats here, so you can use the typography styles for your theme and the colors as well. You could also add in additional buttons. There's a whole different tutorial on using the text editor formats in the documentation. The next column option is the post selector. In the post selector, we can set up a little bit of a logic on what type of post can be pulled in. So here, since we've already reviewed how to change some of the colors, we'll just go ahead and set those up. Now, here we can select the number of different posts that we want. So as an example, I wanted to select 3 different posts. We have 2 options. We can query a post or select a specific post. Now, when you select a specific post, it never updates. It's going to become static, and it's not going to update as you add in additional posts. So the best option here is using the query post. If you did want to select specific posts, I would suggest that you select specific posts for all of these different options, and not just one. Or do the opposite and do all queries instead of selecting specific posts. So we can select the post type for this query. We have posts, events, and newsletters available. So we'll go ahead and select post. We want the latest post, and we can select a specific category if we wanted to. So for example, if we had in the news, we could select just that, or we can select all of these. So by leaving it blank, we're going to select any type of post that we've added to our post type here. Post offset for the second one is second to latest, and third latest for the third there. Now, if I go ahead and click update, and cross my fingers that I've added some posts to this demo site. There we go. So we have 3 posts available. So this is the latest, second to latest, third. Say we wanted to use events. We can also query the events. So just going to change this to events and click update. So this should pull in the 3 latest events. Now the events has a different format to it, so it's going to pull in the date as well. The theme knows to do this automatically without having to add in any extra information. So that's going to pull your events. And I need to remember, but I believe you can do the newsletters as well. And let's go ahead and click that and see if it works. I can't promise that it will, but I think it does. So yes, there we go. So we can have a list of some of the latest the latest newsletters that have been posted. Now, as a quick example, we could just select a specific post, and for the specific post, it's just going to give us these options. We could select from events or posts. So let's say we wanted that post. And you could actually mix and match some of these options, but I don't recommend that just because it gets a little confusing. So this is actually a post. This is a newsletter. We could also throw in an event if needed. So let's do a specific event. Maybe you want to highlight a specific event. Let's highlight another great event. We'll hit update. And that should bring in the different formatting here. Oops. Let me go ahead and save that again. There we go. So that's the event there. Now we've been using that layout for a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and change it up a tiny bit. So we'll switch that up. Select save. And now our first column is going to be a little bit longer. Our second is a little bit tighter there. All right, so I'm going to move on to the icon group. The icon group, we can select the button. Now I'm going to hide that button, the call to action there. And what we can do here is we can select how the icons stack. So we can do a row of 2, a row of 3, a row of 5. Now you need to consider how wide your column is here, because we don't want to put like 3 in here. It's just too tight. And as the screen gets smaller, it gets even more tight. So I'm going to update that, considering that. Update it to this one. And we're going to do 3. You do have the option of including text before the icons. You can center the icons. You can include text after. Icon height determines the height of the icon so that the text lines up nicely. So just going to do 80 pixels there. And text before, text after, and icons. Now the icons, you can use some pre-uploaded ones. We have this icon max width, which helps us size the icon a little bit better as well. And we could do some icon text. So we're going to do 3 here. Just select a couple quick ones from this list. And it's not going to be perfect, but we'll show that in a second. So Now in this icon text, you do have the formats too, so we could change the typography and how that looks a little bit better. So let's see. I'm going to review our settings one more time. We're going to be using a row of 3. We are centering the icon height of 80. This has a default depending on the theme, but go ahead and click update and see what that is looking like. Alright, so we have our text before, text after that you could put for the icons. We did center the icons, but I forgot to center the text. And the way you would center the text is if you go to icons, you would select this and center this text. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to make one of them bold just to show you, and maybe let's do something a little crazy here. There we go. So we have bolded text there. That didn't catch on, but there we go. Now the icon height actually controls the height of these icons, because if you notice, this icon is a little bit shorter than these other two. So if we hadn't set a set icon height, the text would not line up to each other, and that could cause problems with the visual look of things. So I'll do an extreme example here where the icon height is actually going to be 20. And that should mess things up a little bit. Let's see if it does. There we go. So the text is still lined up, but we need to give it the appropriate height so that that works properly. And if you leave it blank, there are some defaults here. Some of those settings are used to improve the layout. So for example, there is a default here, but as you can tell, these icons are, the height is pretty large. So I think the example that we had to having them back at 80 pixels works pretty well. We do have another option here called icon dashes. This is used mainly for the impact page, but you do have the option if these icons were connected to each other or a series of steps. It adds these lines to them. It's just another dimension of the design options that we have there. Then we will go ahead and update this to, let's do 2. This probably will not stack very well, but let's go ahead and test that out. 2. So they do stack all right. And I would probably remove the icon dashes there. All right, so I'm going to move on, and we're going to select icon list. Icon list, we have a drop down here. We can select the icon color and the information color as well. So we'll do something different there. Add icon. We do have a couple different ways we can add some icons to this. We can upload our custom icon and follow pretty similar steps to what we just did with the icon groups. Or we could select from these pre-selected icons that are loaded to the site. So we can use these here. And you can scroll down and try and find something that may work for you. But for example, I wanted to add a phone number. There we go. So I want that icon. You can add the font size. So we're going to say 16. And margin right. This margin is going to be the difference between the space between the icon and the text information that you're going to enter. So 1, 2, 3. And this, you can select the type of information that you are adding here. So in this case, this is a phone number. It's important to select the appropriate one. That way, if it generates a link that either emails somebody or can call somebody if you're on a mobile device. So we can do a couple different things there. So we're going to try and do an envelope here for email. let's do 18. Let's do .com, and that's already selected as email. Add another one. We have a URL, so let's see if there's a globe. So we'll do internet, even though it's the Internet Explorer, which, by the way, I'm not a big fan of. It's made my life very difficult over the past few years. All right, and this would be like well, you have to set up the full address, so https www impact 100.so.org. So we're going to go ahead and add the last option here, and this is just text. So it could be anything. So call us today. And that's probably not a good example, but we'll just use any type of, just do Amazon logo here. Font size, we'll do 13, 7, and we'll see what these settings are going to do. So we kind of have to set these up and then take a look at them and see if the spacing looks right or not. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page, and you can see that the font size controls the size of these items. So the best thing to do there, probably, since I've played with a bunch of different sizes, is I'm going to try and make all of these the same size. 16 is a pretty standard font size. And let me go ahead and update some of the colors because I wasn't liking how those were displaying, specifically the text. There we go. There we go. So we can see there. Oh, let me update one more time. Okay, 16. 16 seems to be actually a little bit small, so we're going to bump it up to 20 and adjust the different margins. Okay, save this one more time. I don't know if that's doing it. There we go. All right, now that we've made the icons a little bit larger, they kind of feel a little bit better with the text. I think we could still adjust that a little bit more. We can adjust the spacing because you can see that this info is a lot more to the left than the others, so that you would just play around with the margin right and see what fits best. So we'll do 4 here. I'm just making this up. I'm not going to make it very accurate this time. Okay, I'm going to click update, and hopefully that does it. There we go. So we have a couple of different options here. Now the email ones, for example, these are links. This one's not a link. This is just text information that you could add on. So that is the icon lists. And finally, let me find the icon group. I'm going to replace this icon group we had set up, and I am going to create a form. We'll use this form dropdown. Now the form ID is going to come from this area here under forms. We have some forms set up for you. You are able to create additional forms if you needed to, but I can see that the ID for my contact form here is the number 2. So form ID 2, you are able to add some text before and after the form if needed. So text before or above the text, and then text after. There are a couple different, well, before I go over all the colors, which we normally set up for you, I'm going to go ahead and save this form, save this page one more time, and we should have a form showing up here. There we go. Now, some of the default colors for the form are actually working pretty well in this case, but if we wanted to make adjustments, we can do that. So we could adjust the form input background color. So let's say primary, the text, let's make it white. The label color, we will make that a crazy yellow, I think that is. The border color, active, the form active border. So this is when you click on it, the color changes of the border. Anytime you see active, it means that the field is currently being used. So active border color, add black. Border width, we can make it a lot thicker, but there are some defaults there that they're already in place, so we don't necessarily need those. And we can select the button style for the form. So by me changing these settings, I'm probably breaking the layout here quite a bit. It's not horrible, but it's not the best. So you can see that the background color has been set to purple. My active background color is set to white. That's why we can't see the text, because the text is also white. So let me see if I can change that. Hopefully I put in, oh, it is an option, but it's pretty light color as well. All right, so now we can see that option change. So you'll have to play around with this. We can see that the button has also been changed in style. But again, some of these that we've already preset for you, so hopefully you don't need to necessarily adjust them. If you are creating a new form, my suggestion is going to the contact page and just kind of utilizing the same type of formatting that we've already set for you. So that covers the forms and the form settings. This one can do a lot and can be used in creative ways. For example, you could use the text editor module to add images, for example. So we'll do that one really quickly. So if we use the text editor, we could add an image here. Now, it may not be the best option, but we'll see how that looks. And now things are going to get squished because I changed back to the 3-column. So you could add images, you could do a couple creative things here, and if you know some HTML and CSS, you could do some inline code to customize these column options quite a bit. These are by default responsive, so if you change the screen size, they're going to start stacking. I hope that this tutorial has been useful. This is definitely going to be one of the longest one. And if you have any questions, we're always here to help. Thank you.